Final Fantasy VII rather famously presented not one, but two leading ladies as potential love matches for the game's hero. And when human beings are presented with options, opinions on the correct course of action will vary. Aerith or Tifa, folks? What's your pleasure? Greetings all, my name is Kontrol. I'm a veteran gamer with a knack for drawing. You're watching the latest in a series of gaming pinup videos, so if you enjoy the show, think about hitting the like button on your way out and subscribe for more. Maybe the best thing to come out of the recent Final Fantasy VII Remake is the greatly expanded dialogue between characters. That, coupled with the inclusion of actual voice actors, has helped paint the clearest picture to date of Cloud, Tifa, and Aerith's varying personalities. Something I think will be useful in finally setting the decades-old dilemma, i.e., which of these very fine young women do you believe best encompasses the qualities
Who would you do?
Wait, what?
Oh, that's what you wrote down on this list of possible video titles. What do you mean, do?
Okay, let's be clear, this isn't simply a question of sex appeal, no matter what hastily scribbled video title ideas say. After all, this debate was originally engaged when Tifa and Aerith looked like this. At 322 by 224 wear my glasses screen resolution.
Growing up, this was Dwight Eisenhower's favorite video game.
Yeah, haha. Look, game development is an evolving process that over the decades has seen a steady stream of technical and creative advancement that people like myself have been privileged to watch progress over the last 30 years or so. And
every day, how spoiled rotten you young punks are getting these days with your fancy 4K resolution and PlayStation 55s and can't even appreciate the greatness of what came before that entertained millions. And those blocky polygons were all we had and we liked it just fine. Now where's my medication?
All right, that's enough, Grandpa. Go back to your room. The evening news is on, buddy. There you go.
It's weird, but he's only a year older than you.
Some people like to calculate the Aerith versus Tifa equation by simply assessing which young lady would make a better match for Cloud. But I suspect most players would pair Cloud with the girl they personally like more. Unfortunately, Final Fantasy VII isn't the kind of role-playing game that gives you that kind of option. Mass Effect was still more than a decade away, I'm afraid. Although, Final Fantasy VII, where you could choose good or evil paths for Cloud, might have been fun.
What kind of stuff would an evil Cloud do?
Maybe join forces with an eco-terrorist group and murder a bunch of security guards to bomb the city's power plant?
Come on, Kontrol. Even Bethesda wouldn't let Cloud do something that evil.
Now, when stories serve up a pair of leading ladies, they tend to have contrasting personality types. The classic being the sweet and kind girl next door type versus the super sexy, flirtatious vixen. Or as people in my age demographic call it, the Marianne versus Ginger question. Or possibly Betty versus Veronica if the family didn't have a TV set.
Oh, when we were growing up, only the folks over in Richtown had a television set. In our neighborhood, we were forced to go to the playground and get to know our neighbors.
What dark times.
Grandpa, you're scaring Mello.
Stupid mangy cat.
Hey.
What's interesting about Aerith versus Tifa is, despite the obvious difference in personal style, they're actually very similar personalities. Neither is wealthy, and if I describe the leading lady of Final Fantasy VII as pretty, intelligent, kind, outgoing, with a streak of heroism, you wouldn't be able to tell which character I was referring to. So players who prefer a specific type could likely go either way on that point. Final Fantasy VII Remake fleshes them out to a point where a few personal quirks can be identified. Aerith is a touch eccentric, sometimes speaks in riddles, has a hint of a temper, and is definitely the more mysterious of the two. Tifa is kind-hearted, but not above subtle manipulation and bending the truth. She's also a pragmatic business owner who is not above leaning on debtors with implied threats.
I think Tifa deserves a lot of credit for getting in shape, too. Check out this old picture of her.
That is Queen Latifah, and are you even paying attention?
Oh, Cloud should definitely be with Queen Latifah then. She is royalty after all.
Since the alternative is killing you, I'm going to pretend that was a joke. But as I was saying, it's hard to imagine a high-stakes scenario where either Aerith or Tifa will respond with selfish motives. And it's little wonder that the two become instant best friends the second they meet.
That makes sense, though. Women love when another pretty girl enters their boyfriend's life, right?
Yeah, no. No. But in this case, Aerith does exude a kind of earnest do-gooder quality that Tifa probably finds irresistible. She might even begrudgingly happy for Cloud if Aerith turned out to be his one true love.
Should have made your move before the competition showed up, Tifa. Snooze, you lose, sweet thing.
What are they teaching you at that kindergarten?
Teacher told us not to tell.
Okay, so in last week's video, we got into Tifa's background just a bit, so obviously the same is in order for Aerith here. Aerith is a young flower merchant who lives in the slums of Midgar, or rather lives with her adopted mother in a beautiful garden estate next to the slums with its very own waterfall.
Cloud lives in a tiny square room with gray walls and no Wi-Fi.
It's probably worth mentioning that Aerith is half Cetra, an ancient race with magical abilities, and is considered a valuable asset of the evil Shinra Power Company. For gameplay purposes, she's an excellent healer whose special powers revolve around keeping the other members of your party alive during battles. Aerith's an extremely useful character to have around, which makes for quite a bit of inconvenience when she becomes unavailable for a large chunk of the game.
What? Why? Does she decide she wants to finish college or something?
For this week's pinup, we've decided to go with her highly detailed remake character model for reference. The updated Final Fantasy VII gives us a very clear look at her comfy-looking pink dress, red leather jacket, and bracelets, all anchored by a fancy pair of butt-kicking biker boots.
She's such a rebel. Pick Aerith, Cloud. Once you go flower, things never go sour.
Oh, that's going on a t-shirt.
There's a delicate quality to Aerith's hairstyle that I found kind of tricky to draw, and I ended up using a rendering technique that I would normally advise novice artists to not use. I feel like it came out okay, but if I were drawing Aerith in a comic book story that required recreating it multiple times, I'd surely do something different. Anyway, I feel like this about does it for Final Fantasy for the time being. Characters like Barrett, Yuffie, or Kate Sith might be fun to try drawing down the line somewhere. Is it Kate Sith or Kate Sith? No, does anyone know? What's that? No one? Alright, so we're moving on. Of course, requests for specific games or characters are always welcome, so feel free to offer suggestions in the comments, after thoroughly massaging the like button, of course. I don't need to encourage people to hit the dislike button. I'm sure pretty much anyone who paid attention to that Queen Latifah joke has already done so. And obviously, I'm interested in knowing which character do you prefer? Who do you like more, Aerith or Tifa? If you want to throw a random out of the blue vote in there for Yuffie, feel free. If that's how you roll, I mean, it's not like Cloud hasn't broken the law already. Anyway, I hope you'll be back for whatever's next. I'm not sure what that will be, but it's gonna be cool.
Citation needed.